I'm just trying to live my life as a normal kid. But some people still see me as the famous.
I'm JC, and you're watching Jose Calamari. What's up, YouTube? I'm JC, and you're watching Jose Calamari. Welcome back to another video on the channel, bro. Welcome to the darkest moments in TV history, part 2. Bro, I posted this video, bro, the part 1. Y'all niggas blew this video up. Likes, 100 plus views in a matter of days. I'm talking about days. I'm assuming I want to see more. So shout out to my boy JJ for recommending this video from Nick Crowley 2 years ago. This came out. This video like running almost 38 minutes or so. I'm not trying to pause too much. Let's get right into the meat and potatoes. Let's get right into the video, bro. Everybody click on the video. He shout out to y'all. Like and subscribe, bro. Let me know in the comment section if you have more videos like this y'all want to see. Comment section below. Do that, y'all. Let's get this freaking video. Darkest Moments TV History 2. First one was crazy, bro. It's gotta be crazier, y'all.
January 11th, 2001. Famed Brazilian actress, model, and singer Xuxa lands her prop spaceship on the stage of a Brazilian TV set and begins her show the way she always does. The program, titled Xuxa Park, was a hit for the Rede Global network, targeting a demographic of young children with its over-the-top dance numbers, fun games, and immersive futuristic sets. Premiering back in the summer of '94, Xuxa Park had shown little signs of slowing down by the turn of the century, and seemed poised for a long, impressive run, barring any unforeseen disaster. On this particular day, 300 children were in attendance to watch or participate in the show's activities. Xuxa's infectious energy led the way from segment to segment as they played games, showed cartoons, and of course sang their songs.
Okay, she got a little Sesame
Street. By the end of the episode, the crew had all gathered on stage to perform one last musical number, to end things off with a bang. And evidently, that's exactly what would happen.
What happened? What?
This frame was taken just over 1 minute later, revealing all that remained of the set, as within that impossibly short window of time, the once bright and inviting scenery was turned to a pitch-black, unrecognizable hellscape, barely comprehensible to the camera that was also just mere moments away from being swallowed by the flames, but not before it would capture the carnage firsthand.
So it caught on fire? Damn. Everybody over there is dead. Yeah, all them people's fucked, bro. They're all fucked. These niggas like, me first, I'm out. Audio cuts out. Dude, them people in the back are burned alive. Did you see how the main host was like, nah, I'm out, fam? It's like, nah, I don't get paid enough for this. That's crazy.
In the blink of an eye, the spaceship which Xuxa had rode in on and was moments away from re-entering to leave the set would catch fire, all while the dancers continued their performance, unaware of the emerging danger behind them. A member of the staff quickly enters the frame in an attempt to extinguish the flames, but it was already too late, as just a few seconds after the spark, the entire ship was engulfed by the blaze, causing mass panic on the set.
Before a girl went back in the spaceship.
Next to the fiery ship, and just barely out of view of the camera, was the show's signature Ferris wheel, which kids would ride during the program, including during this very moment. As the fire raged, one boy was trapped in his seat, helpless to the danger unfolding around him.
No.
And noticing this, a group of brave people on scene began desperately trying to free him, which can just barely be seen on the left-hand side of the screen.
Did they get him?
Thankfully, their attempts proved successful, as he was eventually freed from a seat and carried to safety.
Oh, that's good.
The fire was later determined to have started by an electrical short circuit, and the set would soon be completely turned to ash and rubble. But as for the nearly 300 children and numerous staff on scene, despite multiple injuries, everyone had somehow managed to escape the building.
Are they safe, y'all?
With the only reported fatality being the show itself, as this would be the last episode ever filmed, with Xuxa Park being swiftly cancelled.
Damn. Or at least no one's dead.
This moment saw all parties involved survive the ordeal.
Yeah, everyone's alive.
World of disturbing television moments.
Y'all niggas gonna be
Though
dead.
it does highlight just how quickly things can go downhill when the cameras are rolling, and when these dark moments ultimately happen, all we can really do his watch.
Something happened and turned this video into
That's
a
crazy. Yeah, I'm not gonna try to pause it too much, bro. It's a long ass 38-minute episode. So we just gonna try to react accordingly, y'all.
If there's one lesson you can learn from my channel, it's that the internet can be a dark and unforgiving place. And unfortunately, it's become all too easy for data brokers to find our personal information, like our full legal names, personal emails, home addresses, and even our relatives. And as someone who has been personally affected by the availability of this information, which has caused me a great deal of anxiety, I'm very excited to tell you about today's sponsor, Aura, a company dedicated to helping
Alright, check it
archive
out.
information.
We don't have time to be fucking with the Aura ad. Okay. Yeah, we ain't got time for that, bro.
There are very
Get you
few
one.
manners of death that strike fear among us as much as the horrifying prospect of being buried alive. The dark, claustrophobic nature of it, slowly losing oxygen with not a thing in the world you can do to stop it. It just strikes a chilling chord with so many. However, with this fear arose a unique opportunity for those looking to make a spectacle. Rather than running from this mortal fear, a select few magicians and daredevils have tried their hand at the challenge of being buried alive, by not just surviving, but escaping. The trick was popularized by arguably the greatest magician of all time, Harry Houdini, who tried his hand at the stunt on a few separate occasions, the first of which would see him narrowly escape a casket buried under 6 feet of dirt by breaking through the surface with his fist, only to fall unconscious before he could complete the trick, with the stunt almost ending in his death.
Why would you
There,
keep doing
he
it
would be
then?
buried again on 2 separate occasions, surviving both for well over an hour, but never being able to fully pull himself out, and in turn pull off the seemingly impossible. Houdini did have plans to give it one more try in 1927, when he believed the stunt would finally be completed, but sadly he would pass away before getting the opportunity. Because of this, the trick is acted as somewhat of a magnum opus for any magician able to pull off the feat, a feat that even the great Houdini himself couldn't accomplish. And so, on the 66th anniversary of his death, American escape artist Bill Shirk would honor the late magician by attempting to do just that. For the stunt, Shirk would add extra elements of flair, upping the danger by being handcuffed and having cement poured over top of the casket
Ooh, it's
as
not a good
opposed to
idea.
just dirt. And he planned on doing it all with a TV crew on hand. However, from the get-go, things seemed to be off with the performance, as Shirk expressed concern over the grave being dug too wide and too long, thus changing the dynamics of his escape.
If I make this, I got a bad feeling about this thing. Bad feeling.
At one point, when the first layer of dirt was being applied, Shirk would use his walkie-talkie to tell his team to call off the whole ordeal, and to pull him up from the ground,
Exactly.
seemingly in a moment of clarity. But everything was already in motion. This was his big moment with everyone watching. He couldn't afford to fail. Besides, he had been buried alive before, setting a record back in 1977 by spending a total of 79 hours beneath the surface
You
of the
already
Earth.
beat it.
He was
Why
no
you need to
stranger
prove
this.
something
Not
again?
wanting to let his fans down, Bill Shirk would change his mind and continue the stunt by giving his team the
No,
green light to
don't
begin pouring
continue.
the cement. And as that concrete began to settle and harden over top of the casket, things take a very grim turn.
Decides to go ahead.
I think we gotta go.
Tons of concrete are poured. Suddenly, the concrete sinks. The coffin has been crushed.
Almost immediately, the level of liquid concrete dips dramatically, and large bubbles appear on the surface, accompanied
crushed
by
the
a
glass
massive
coffin.
splashing noise. Signs that point to only one real possibility: that the weight of the concrete and dirt had caused the coffin to cave in.
He's
With those
good, he's
very same
done.
materials instantly filling in any available space inside the coffin,
Yep.
and in turn, suffocating Shirk.
Immediately.
Rescue effort was underway almost instantly, but still, it felt like it was all moving in slow motion. And most assumed right away that if the weight of the concrete alone had not killed him, then the lack of oxygen certainly would.
Yeah, I would think
A
so.
backhoe digs and crucial moments pass. Shirk cannot be found.
He lived?
However, this thankfully wouldn't be the case. Incredibly, Shirk managed to claw his way to the surface, where his team was able to pull him to safety
Oh
and
my
rush him
God.
into a waiting ambulance.
Hopefully he never does
And
it
though his
again, right?
condition appeared severe, he was alive, and it somehow cheated death.
Okay.
Got it. Spared my life on this one, and it'll be a while before I'll do one of these. I'll tell you that.
Despite claiming to be done with his stunt for a while,
Yes.
Shirk would be back to attempting his death-defying stunts soon after, with some
Why?
similar results.
After Shirk climbs in the casket, the snake goes in.
Now he just wants to die at this point. He just wants to die. Yo, he literally just wants death at this point. There's no way you attempt to do this and on live TV, this goes wrong and you barely escape it. And this nigga's like, okay, let me try years later. And this has to be some white people shit. No racial to white people, bro. You know what I'm saying? If he wants to hold the world record from doing this shit, he can have the record in the whole 9 yards. It's not going to be my black ass. I'm just saying.
But there's a problem, and Shirk has to get help.
Is that a snake? What the fuck is that?
But although Bill Shirk was able to escape this trick with his life, not everyone
Why is a
has
snake
been
in there?
so lucky. 2 years prior to Shirk's run-in with death, another performer known as the Amazing Joe had attempted the same stunt at an amusement park, also going the route of having dirt and wet cement poured over his plastic and glass coffin. This was Joe's attempt at becoming a master escape artist, and forever etching himself into the history books of this particular
Why was there a
niche.
snake on
In
the
fact,
dude
he had
before,
already
though?
done what Houdini couldn't, as years prior he had escaped from a wooden coffin covered in 6 feet of dirt. But this
Okay.
attempt was clearly much more extreme, and with it should have come an immense amount
Y'all
of
niggas
planning,
already
not only by
won. I don't understand. Y'all already won. Why are y'all going for bigger like things? Y'all already got it. Like literally saying, yeah, he's already completed. He's already like survived it without. Y'all beat Houdini. Y'all got the fame. Y'all got the money. Y'all got the acknowledgement. Do another trick. You idiots.
Joe
Like
himself,
y'all want
the
to
team
die.
around him.
That's
However,
crazy.
according to reports, the coffin used was never actually tested to see if it could withstand such a great amount of weight. And
You about to
also,
die.
he never tested the weight of the cement itself,
You're gonna
the
die.
speed in which it would harden. Joe was quite literally going into this blind, and his confidence was apparent, as the cherry on top of this poor planning was the fact that no rescue procedure was in place should the stunts
None.
go horribly wrong. And unsurprisingly, well, that's exactly what would happen.
It was a cold night anyway, and when it sunk, I just knew trouble. We're in trouble. It's not fun anymore.
Much like the footage from Bill Shirk's attempted escape, the level of cement and dirt suddenly dips, only this time in a much more dramatic fashion, with the cave-in being so brutal that I'm not sure I'll even be allowed to show it on YouTube.
Don't show
According
that.
to many onlookers there, the coffin being destroyed by that immense weight caused a massive crashing noise, followed by immense panic from those trying to rescue Joe. But without a proper plan, the situation quickly grew helpless. Entrapped beneath that dirt, surrounded by cheering fans, his parents, and a TV camera, the
No,
Amazing Joe
no.
would lose his life.
Not his
Ironically, within a
parents.
coffin, buried 6 feet under.
Oh, that's his final resting place. No jokes. That's literally his final resting place.
Sporting events are no stranger to disturbing TV moments, from hockey players having their throats cut open,
That happened?
to a football player suffering cardiac arrest right there on the field.
Oh, I remember
We've
that.
been administering CPR through these past 2 breaks that we've taken.
It's
Right.
unfortunately always
I remember
a
that
risk
play happening in the
in
NFL.
televised sport out there. And although there's always a lingering chance that at
Yeah,
any moment
people get
things
injured,
could
bro.
go terribly wrong, that risk mainly pertains to the players actually participating in the sport. And you
Right.
likely wouldn't imagine fans being in any sort of danger as they sit by watching the game. Though sadly it does happen from time to time, with perhaps
Sure.
the most notable example being the story of Shannon Stone. Shannon was a 39-year-old firefighter who, on the 7th of July 2011, took his son Cooper to watch a Texas Rangers game in Arlington. This was the perfect bonding opportunity for the duo, and an even better opportunity to catch fly balls, as their
Yeah.
seats left them in prime position to take home an unforgettable souvenir. The two would even stop at a sporting store beforehand, where Shannon would buy his son a baseball glove to use in the event that a loose ball came flying their
Right,
way.
of course.
And as the game reached the top of the second inning, their moment had finally arrived.
Huh?
Blind but foul. When I looked at who the A's are facing.
A foul ball was hit in their general direction, being quickly recovered by Rangers outfielder Josh Hamilton. And rather than returning the ball to the dugout or the field itself, Hamilton decided to make Cooper's day, recognizing the young fan in the stands and subsequently tossing the ball to Shannon. As this was all transpiring, the game continued with the pitcher preparing for his next throw, before suddenly you can hear the sound of something strange.
I want them to be great in their last exactly. I would rather have that than have it like Holland where he gets knocked out.
It almost seemed like yelling, which was followed by some sort of strong reaction from the crowd.
What's going on?
Which in turn led to an immediate stoppage of play, as the announcers were left trying to figure out what exactly was happening, until they finally received word on the unfolding situation.
What's going on?
Got a lot of energy built up. I think somebody fell out of the stands in left field trying to field a baseball guy. Well, this is it. That's why there was time taken.
You tried to catch a ball and he fell out of the stage?
The man in this footage was in fact Shannon Stone, and as Josh Hamilton had gone to toss the ball up to him, the throw fell just a bit short, causing the 39-year-old father to extend past the railing before losing his balance. And despite the seemingly playful nature of the announcers at the time,
you were right, Ray. Somebody did tumble.
What happened?
This fall was no laughing matter, as below that railing stood a 20-foot fall directly onto a concrete floor, which Shannon would strike head first. As he laid there on the ground, barely able to move,
20-foot fall?
he was miraculously still conscious, finding the strength to tell the rescue team carrying him out, "Please check on my son. My son was up there all by himself." Based on this reaction, it was clear that Stone was obviously alive and had clear brain function, making his initial prognosis on the scene somewhat promising. But before he would even reach a nearby hospital, Shannon Stone would be pronounced dead.
Damn.
According to many medical professionals, this immediate showing of brain function was more or less a fluke occurrence.
I would hate baseball. My dad died trying to catch a ball. I would never mess with baseball ever again. Like I'll be traumatized, bro, if I was a son. Not even like, it's not funny, it's not cool.
It was instead a sign that the injuries his brain had suffered were going to be fatal.
Damn.
In the years since, Shannon Stone's memory lives on, with a statue being made in his honor in that very stadium where his life came to an end, forever immortalizing someone who, by all accounts, was a great man and an even better father.
This is not gonna bring him back. His son still doesn't have a dad. The end to Catch a Predator.
If you spent any considerable amount of time here on YouTube, then chances are you're at least somewhat familiar with the show To Catch a Predator. During its run on Daytime, the show was incredibly popular, with its host Chris Hansen being launched into stardom for his role exposing pedophiles on the internet.
I'm Pro Daylight NBC. You already know what's up.
At the time, there was really nothing else like this on TV, and was widely viewed as...
I'm Chris Hansen. I'm Pro Daylight NBC. You already know what's about to happen to you next.
Life here on YouTube, as re-uploads of its episodes have been viewed as many as 50 million plus times. To this day, the show remains immensely popular, and during its television run, the same was true, which led me to wonder how or why it was ever taken off the air. I mean, it was entertaining, popular, and with the internet exploding in recent years, the content would seemingly...
I think someone tried to attack Chris Hansen in one of the episodes.
The show only lasted 3 years. And that's when
I remember this happening. I heard about this.
Specific reason why To Catch a Predator was pulled from the air, and it's one of the darker TV stories I've ever heard. During the fall of 2007, Perverted Justice, the team that To Catch a Predator used to find their predators, had set up a decoy account on MySpace, posing as a 13-year-old boy. And before long, another user had taken the bait, reaching out to the fake child in the hopes of sparking an intimate relationship. According to the user's account, he was a 19-year-old college student that happened to live in the same area. However, upon doing some light digging, the Perverted Justice team discovered that the man was actually in his late 50s. His name was Louis Condrat, and although his behavior was similar to essentially all other predators in the show's run, sending explicit messages and pornographic images, despite knowing he was speaking to a child, Louis was different in one respect. It seems that Condrat was in a position of power, working as a chief felony assistant district attorney for Rockwall County. This was setting up to be To Catch a Predator's biggest catch to date, and exposing him would not only mean bringing him to justice, but also bringing in great ratings for the show.
Right.
Though there was one major issue. Upon engaging the decoy for a few hours and even calling to speak to him,
hello? Hey, Will.
Hey, what are you doing?
Nothing. What are you doing?
Nothing.
No?
No, I was looking up to see how to get to where you are.
Still thinking about me?
Yeah, where's your right hand?
It's in my pocket.
In your pocket?
I can hear nothing he's saying, bro. Good, because it's some sick shit. I'm gonna restart my camera. I'll go back.
And seemed to recognize the grave error he was making, and began deleting all content from his account. And as a few days passed, it was clear that Lewis was not going to be visiting their sting house, which meant no program and no justice. However, the To Catch a Predator team was not going to let this go easily, with the crew coming up with a plan that had never been done before in the history of the show. They were going to bring the program to Kondrat. And so on November 5th, Hansen and his crew would visit Kondrat's house with a group of officers and an arrest and search warrant. This would not be without controversy though, as the warrant supposedly contained wrong information like the wrong county and the wrong date, meaning that they would likely struggle to hold up in court and probably should have never been acted on. Despite this, the crew urged law enforcement to act anyway, rushing the ordeal to assure they got their guy. And so the police agreed, first calling Kondrat and then knocking on his door for multiple hours, though neither attempt saw any results. And growing impatient with the whole ordeal, they then called in the SWAT team to surround and eventually breach the house.
Oh, I ain't never seen this one. I thought it was some of the one where they tried to get you dude and he stabbed Chris Hansen in the face.
As this was all happening, To Catch a Predator had their cameras trained on the outside of the home, awaiting the shot of Kondrat being ushered into a cop car and driven away, unaware that this time, things were going to end much differently. Inside, Kondrat would yell to the officers, "I'm not going to hurt anybody," before brandishing his pistol, and rather than pointing it at the officers, he instead pointed it at himself.
He killed himself.
The officers line up in formation.
Not for you too young to lie himself.
Then we hear a faint crack. The officers force their way in. For almost 5 minutes, we don't see or hear anything. Then Lieutenant Adana Barber of the Murphy Police Department comes out and tells us what happened.
As they made entry, they confronted the suspect. I believe he's in the hallway, and he told them he wasn't going to hurt them.
She really sued them for $1 million for her brother being a predator. She got money off her brother being a predator.
Mark the end of To Catch a Predator, as in
just the way it went about it was probably not right according to law, but like to get paid after your brother being a predator is crazy.
And though this lawsuit was settled privately with undisclosed conditions, the show was already on death's door, which was not helped by the national media dogpiling on To Catch a Predator, as well as perverted justice.
What?
Now there are serious questions about what goes on behind the scenes.
So you telling me all the predators who was actually messing with, trying to mess with children, got they charges dropped?
Have the full transcripts? I don't know.
Because of
the police department can't tell me whether or not I have the full transcript.
That's fucking
Did your
crazy.
arresting officers, did they
Never
see
knew
the
that
chance
happened.
before they made the arrest?
Holy shit.
Did they see the entire chance?
Making it impossible, says District Attorney Roach, to mount a successful prosecution. Charges have been
Okay, I already know about Rodney
every
O'Connell.
single person
I
arrested
already know about
is
this
a
one.
Murphy stick.
With these claims
Daily Show
some
killer. We already know
the
Rodney
show was more
O'Connell.
interested in entertainment
I've heard the
rather
story
than
1 million
justice.
times.
Whether that's true or not, To Catch a Predator would be cancelled, marking a tragic end to one of the strangest, yet most compelling TV shows ever to be broadcast, thanks solely to this grim moment.
Right? Even a comedian know he don't look happy. He knew it.
As evident by the first batch of cases in this video, many of the darkest moments in TV history come from shocking accidents.
Nigga, let her
or
go. You got a
disturbing
murderer,
events
bro?
that play
Just
out
let
for
her
the
be,
cameras to
bro.
see. However,
Like, it's
there are
not find
select
another
few
woman, bro.
examples
You was
where
above
television
black dude.
moments
I'm pretty
only
sure you
really
can find
become
a young,
dark long
a
after
young
they're
girl
aired,
that's ready
more
to throw it
context is
back. You know what I
given.
mean? That's
For
crazy.
example, in our first installment of the series, we discussed Renard Spivey.
Ask him he's been married
Dating
for how
game
long?
killer.
Over 27
Look at him though,
years.
he look mad. You don't look happy, brother. You don't look happy.
63-year-old Renard Spivey accused of killing his wife, 52-year-old Patricia Spivey, after an argument that turned deadly.
The man who had murdered his wife years after making an appearance on television, with one joke at his expense during this time aging like milk. The concept of killers finding their way onto TV is one that I've recently become fascinated by, with the case always being brought up in tandem with this conversation being the dating game killer. In 1978, a man named Rodney Alcala had found his way onto the popular show The Dating Game, earning a date with Cheryl Bradshaw above all other contestants.
He killed
However, this date would
everything.
never
He had no
actually
discrimination.
materialize, as upon meeting him away from the cameras, Cheryl found the man to be creepy and ultimately declined to speak with him any further. And as it turns out, that decision may have saved her life. During the time in which this episode was shot and aired, Rodney was in the midst of a massive killing spree, ending the lives of at least 8 people that we know of, though many claim his true number of victims is shockingly closer to 130, due to the fact that they had found a stash of over 1,000 photographs detailing women, young boys, and men that Rodney had taken, many of which are believed to have been unidentified victims of him. And what makes this all the more chilling is the fact that Rodney had told the show that he was a photographer, and it was even mentioned during the program.
Well, let's see. Bachelor number 1 is a successful photographer who got his start when his father found him in the dark room at the age of 13, fully developed.
Given the shocking nature of this case, it's really no wonder why it's become so popular, especially here on YouTube. But surprisingly, there are quite a few examples of killers finding their way onto our TV screens that have happened within the past decade alone.
What?
And one that even happened within just days of writing this script. One obscure example comes from the show Celebrity MasterChef.
Oh my
Where in the
God.
background, we can see an inconspicuous man serving food cooked by the contestants of the show.
Never even heard
The
of it.
man was one of a dozen unnamed chefs, just helping out.
I mean, who
typically
knows
out of
who you
view of
would
the
find on
camera,
TV? You don't
but
know
for
if
this
people
one
do behind
split
closed
second,
doors.
and likely to the recognition of no
They've
one.
been with celebrities. You never know, bro.
This man's name is Stephen Port, a 40-year-old living in South London, who has since come to be known as the Grindr Killer. Stephen is responsible for the deaths of 4 men he met on the Grindr app, all of whom he had lured to his flat and poisoned with fatal doses of GHB, before going on to violate and then dump their corpses. With these murders transpiring not long after this fleeting moment was broadcast for the world to see, making me wonder just how many other killers have appeared in glimpses on TV that have not yet been recognized. Maybe they were walking in a crowd or panned over at a sporting event, hiding in plain sight. But killers don't just get shown as background characters, or as one-off contestants for just a single episode. Sometimes they are permanently etched in the show's history. In the summer of 2020, Food Network began airing a season
Hey,
of
do
Worst
that when we
Cooks
got
in
some
America,
illegal shows.
one of their more popular shows, and this one was set to be a big one, as it marked the program's 20th season. The competition was all in good fun, with lots of humorous and memorable moments, leading to the eventual finale on the 2nd of July. And in that episode, the fan favorite Ariel Robinson would take home the crown as winner of the show, along with a grand prize of $25,000. However, if you were to look for this season today, let's say on demand, on streaming services, or even on TV, you would be left with no results, as its existence has been practically wiped from the face of the earth. And given what happened after the season ended, this comes as little surprise.
She ugly as shit.
Upon winning the competition, Ariel Robinson settled
sorry,
back
but
into
she
her
ugly as
normal
hell.
life with her husband Jerry. And after securing life-changing funds from the show, the couple made the admirable
What happened?
decision to foster a young girl named Victoria, whom they eventually decided to officially adopt in January of 2021. On the 6th of the month, just over a week before the adoption was set to be finalized, Ariel would take to Twitter to boast about her parenting, stating, "I'm a mama bear and I'll do anything to protect my children and make sure their futures
Children
are
water?
equally bright." A statement that seemed in line with her already stellar reputation as being a fun-loving, good person who dedicated her life to loving her kids. However, no one could have imagined the devastating turn this family was heading for. 5 days after Victoria's adoption, Ariel's husband,
Hell
Jerry,
no.
would dial 911 stating,
You have an emergency. Our daughter is unresponsive. She's drunk a lot of water. We're trying to pump CPR to get out. Our 3-year-old daughter is choking on water right now.
Your 3-year-old daughter is what?
Choking on water right now. We need help immediately.
Okay, we'll get help on the way.
This led to emergency responders rushing to the scene where the young girl was found unresponsive on the floor of her bedroom and was soon after declared
They
dead.
beat the little girl.
Across her body were countless bruises which Ariel claimed to have been from their attempts at CPR. Though bizarrely, during the whole ordeal, her story would quickly change, as she soon began
Why?
blaming her 7-year-old son, whom she stated had a history of anger issues, believing potentially he had killed her. Already, something very strange was happening with the situation, and it only became more bizarre when a forensic pathologist confirmed that Victoria had died not from choking, but from blunt force injuries
Why?
and internal bleeding, essentially meaning that her death was no accident.
You ain't stop
This
her?
launched a full-scale investigation into the couple, where it would later be discovered that
Why
the
you
day
ain't stop
before her
it?
death, Victoria had gotten sick at church,
Uh-uh.
forcing Ariel to undress her and make
Oh,
her
yeah,
walk
no,
out
they
of
need
the
to take care of her
building
in
just
jail.
her underwear, telling her, "Oh, you're cold. You're cold. Girls that make themselves throw up deserve to be cold."
Yes.
This anger seemingly boiled over the next morning, where, ironically, Victoria was refusing to eat pancakes that Ariel had cooked, which led to Ariel grabbing her,
take it off the
dragging
air.
her
She
up
needs to be in jail for
stairs,
life.
beating her with a
They're gonna beat the
paddle.
fuck out of her for
According to
life
Jerry,
in
she was
jail.
working in the backyard at
They're
the
gonna do
time.
bad things
He
to her
could
in
hear the
jail.
beating from outside, claiming that it
Well,
lasted
why would
at
you
least
do
an
that to a
hour,
little
but
girl?
He did nothing to stop it. And as a result, Victoria began to bleed internally, and later would pass away due to the traumatic injury she had suffered by the hands of her soon-to-be
But she is the worst parent in America.
When it was all said and done,
The worst
Ariel
foster
Robinson was
parent.
arrested and will now spend the rest of her life in prison, so soon after her triumphant win
You
on
sick
Worst Cooks.
bastard.
Since
Couldn't have
the
your
news
own
initially
children. You
broke on
fucking
this,
murdered
the
somebody
entirety of
else's
season
kid.
20 has been removed from the internet and has been wiped from the show's history. But for me, one of the most chilling moments in Ariel's history on television
Get that wig
came
off your
soon
head,
after her
bitch.
victory, when a local news station would come to her home for an interview.
Fucking shame.
I truly am not the worst cook in America.
But she is the winner of Food Network's Worst Cooks in America Season 20.
Yes, I am putting mayo in a glove.
Ariel
Yeah.
Robinson lives in Simpsonville.
We're inside. We see a sign proudly displayed by Ariel, touting her as the #1 mom. Soon after, this same local news station would become the leading reporters on her murder case. Despite this all transpiring within just
That's
a few years, this surprisingly is not even the most recent example of a killer being
not
prominently
funny.
featured on TV. As news broke of this final
This nigga
example
Steve Harvey
just
wasn't
a few
even
days ago,
laughing.
in January of
Did y'all see
2020,
Steve Harvey
the
had a
widely
serious
popular
face? He's
show
like, what are
Family
we talking
Feud
about?
featured the
If you didn't love her, why'd you say I do, sir? Nah, so you're not laughing your way out of this one. Steve Harvey's dead serious. Like, what are we talking about, sir?
During one of the segments, the question was posed, "What is your biggest mistake you made at your wedding?"
Steve
Which
Harvey's like,
Timothy
that shit not
responds
funny.
with,
Honey, I love you, but said I do. Not my mistake.
He killed her, didn't
Not
he?
my mistake. I love my wife. I'm gonna get in trouble for that, aren't I?
If you've seen the show before,
Yeah.
or you know that this type of humor is the norm, and jokes like this are made in virtually every single episode. But this one would later take on a much more sinister tone due to the events that unfolded not long after the show had aired. Around a year after Timothy's moment in the limelight, he and his wife Rebecca would actually separate, not officially divorcing, but living in
Craig
separate
was-
homes and seemingly not getting along either, as it was recently revealed
Yeah,
that
they was on
Rebecca
his
had
ass.
filed for a restraining order against both Timothy as well as his father, a clear
Sir,
indication
you
that she
couldn't
believed
find
he
another
was in
woman.
some
You had
sort
to
of
kill.
danger. Fast forward to February
You know how many women there are in the
2023,
world?
and the two were finally making headway on finalizing an official divorce, before on the 23rd day of the month,
Yeah, he's
gunshots
completely
rang out
different.
from Rebecca's home.
Police say 41-year-old Rebecca Bliefnick was found by a family member Thursday. Police say she had been shot multiple times.
When police arrived on scene, Rebecca was sadly no longer alive, and it wouldn't take long for investigators to turn their sights on Timothy. On March 13th, police would arrest the now 39-year-old in connection with
It's
his
crazy.
soon-to-be ex-wife's death. charging him with 2 counts of first-degree murder and blaming him for the shooting that took place at her home, with his mugshot showing him as completely unrecognizable to the man we saw
like,
on
bro,
TV
like, of
just
all the
years
women
before. The whole
watching the
situation is
Martin
incredibly
incident,
disturbing, and what makes it even worse is just how beloved Timothy and his family were in their hometown. I mean, they literally had community watch parties to cheer on the family that can still be found here on YouTube.
But listen, it was so much fun. I'm so happy and appreciative of the support community, so thanks.
Making the events
Isn't that good?
all the more tragic. And given everything that's happened since the show aired, and since Timothy said this iconic joke, I think it's very possible that there was at least some truth to his words.
Ya que estamos aquí, trataba de conseguirla a usted, si es tan amable, ¿me da una reacción para el programa Ocurrió Así?
Our final entry takes us to the tragic passing of 15-year-old Yoandra Martin back in November of 1992. The young girl had recently discovered that she was 13 weeks pregnant, much to the disappointment of her family, and subsequently ended her life as a result, which momentarily thrusted her parents, Maritza Martin and Emilio Nunez, into the public eye. The two had been separated since before she was even born, with Maritza gaining full custody, something that Emilio would later claim she had used to keep his daughter away from him, as the two supposedly spent very little time together. As a result, Nunez began publicly blaming Maritza for the death of their daughter, claiming that she and her new husband had been abusive towards her and had even struck her upon discovering she was pregnant. Making matters worse, Nunez would go on to allege that Maritza never even told him that their daughter had died and had only found out an hour before the funeral from a friend. Now, I want to stress that there is absolutely no information I could find to fully confirm any of what Nunez was claiming, and with many elements of Nunez's story, the jury is still out, though in his own mind, this truly seems to be what he believed. And this is where the dark side of television began to rear its ugly head. For whatever reason, the news station Ocurrió Así had decided to cover Emilio's allegations against Maritza, seemingly taking his word at face value and launching a full-scale story into the case. It started with Emilio being interviewed by a reporter from the station named Ingrid Cruz, which transpired in the vicinity of his daughter's grave. During the questioning, Ingrid would ask him things like, "What would you tell your daughter if she was still alive? And how did you feel when you saw your dead daughter in the casket?" Her questions were clearly crossing the line, and things would only get worse from here, as while they were filming this segment, Maritza herself had arrived on location to Yoandra's final resting place.
Doña Maritza.
You better leave her alone, because you slit my throat.
Sobre la muerte de su hija Yoandra. Una reacción de usted.
Leave her alone, but you get shot.
Upon her arrival, Nunez immediately removed himself from the situation, and Maritza was instead swarmed by Cruz, who began bombarding her with questions, each of which were ignored, as she clearly was uncomfortable and didn't want to speak to the cameras, and was just trying to get to her daughter's grave.
Quiero saber por qué, la reacción, el por qué usted quiere esquivarnos a nosotros.
It's clear in the footage that tensions were rising by the second, as it seemed apparent that Cruz was clearly attempting to provoke her into any sort of reaction.
On the camera, on the news.
Until
Oh
suddenly,
my god.
the unthinkable happened.
Su hija tomó esa decisión de quitarse
You
la
going to
vida.
jail, sir. The proof is on camera.
Usted no tiene nada que decir.
You going to jail, sir.
In a split second, and out of absolutely nowhere, we see Nunez charge back into frame. As though he initially appeared to be doing the responsible thing by walking away from the conflict, he had instead actually returned to his car with the sole purpose of retrieving his pistol, which he would then use to shoot Maritza over and over and over again,
Damn.
all while the camera was still rolling.
Damn. Yeah, you going to jail. It's a wrap.
Hey, get in the car. You just shot a woman, possibly coming after us. He's psychotic, man. Where am I? What funeral home am I at?
That's crazy.
Where am I at? Somebody shot.
Maritza would be shot a total of 12 times, and in turn her life would come to an end, as Nunez stood over her yelling, "I should have done this a long time ago." When the smoke cleared, Nunez would be arrested and sentenced to life with a possibility of parole in 25 years. And what's most frustrating is just how avoidable this really seemed to be. Maritza herself had actually requested a restraining order against Nunez not long before her murder.
This nigga pulled back up and just shot her on camera.
That it would only
He's exposed his whole life over.
Despite the fact that police were already well aware of Nunez's violent temper.
Alright guys, we're gonna end the video right there, bro. I already know it ran long as hell. Shout out to Nick Crowley for this video. If y'all want to see more videos like this, let me know in the comment section below. Recommend them in the comment section below, bro. If y'all like what y'all see on the channel, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And until next time, guys, I'm JC. You're watching Jose Calamari.